Shipra Chaturvedi. Let me introduce her. Shipra carries with her a strong expertise in investment banking domain across business analysis function. She always try to leverage the technology for betterment of human life. She have extensively worked in the CSS function and has been a member of the outreach core committee. So please welcome Shipra for her presentation. Shipra, over to you.
Thank you, Narottam. Welcome all. Thanks for coming into the session. Let me share my screen. Okay, is the screen visible and am I audible?
Yes, Shipra, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Hi all, a very happy evening to all of you. I always say that happy morning or happy evening. I know these are tough times, so let's at least say happy so that we are happy at all the times. I have one poll in the starting. Shama or Minka, can you help me to run that poll? And the question for that poll is, do people always act or believe in a certain way? You just have to answer simple yes, no, maybe, according to the people you have seen around. Let's time it. Let's give it just 1 minute, maybe for all of you to answer. Okay, so I can see 35% of you are saying yes. That means you are saying that people always act or believe in a certain way. But remember, when you say yes, that means they have a style which they are going to follow no matter what. So that means people are rigid. Then some people are saying no, and then some people are saying maybe. When you say no, it means you have encountered with people who mostly behave in the same manner, but yeah, sometimes change due to the situation. And maybe means, according to whatever context we are going to have in the coming slides, maybe means how people can change according to situations. I mean, if the situation is like the financial background is great, then people are spending more. If the financial background is not that great of the person, then the people is not spending, can spend less and can overcome that habit of overspending. So like that is just one example. So that is what we are going to talk about of how people behave and how, as a product leader, as a product manager, or a product lead, we can utilize these behaviors of people. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So today we are going to look about what role psychology plays behind the product management. As a product leader, why do you need to have some or a bit of knowledge about the psychological concepts of the human behavior, and how can you have that? There will be certain models which I'm going to explain. So one is the logical side, the where as a product manager or as a product leader, you always have to look at the logical side also, that this can happen, this is feasible or not. And one is the customer side, that people always do not react in a certain way, like we had the poll right now, or maybe they can change their minds, sometimes easily, sometimes no, depends on the person and the situation, both. So when we say psychology behind product management, there is a very famous quote by Thomas Mann: people's behaviors make sense to you when you think of it in terms of their goals, needs, and motives. So different people have different goals, different needs, different motives. And 99% of the human genome is same, but yes, that 1% makes all the difference. So who am I? Already Narottam has shared the introduction. So I have been into IBIT for almost 9 years, and I've been working into CSR also. Now, the context and key takeaways for this session is more about psychological concepts, human behavior, as I said earlier. So sometimes as a product leader, we don't really realize, or maybe we realize, we are always talking about the customers. What do customers want? How can we give them what they want? And what are their goals? What are their needs? What are their motives? How can we identify the needs that customers have? Trust me, if you know some context about the psychological principles, and if you have an in-depth knowledge of some of the human behavior, then you can build your product and you can utilize these concepts in every stage, whether it's pricing, it's marketing, it's sales, it's attracting the customers towards a new product, retaining them, giving them rewards, anything. So that helps a lot. So psychology is the main thing that I'm going to tell about how it plays a role in the product management and how as a product leader you can utilize it throughout your product life cycle. And the three key takeaways would be a behavioral product management. How does it work? How does a product leader and a behavioral product leader differ? Building habit forming products, and how can you embrace a product leader mindset with these things. Okay, so behavioral product management, how it is defined. I know the definition is like, obviously, you apply behavioral science and human psychology in management, but how do you apply that? So, behavioral product manager from a product manager differs in a way, in two, three ways. Like, one is that behavioral product manager will always first think about the system, what is inside, what is the teams that they have to work with, and will also think about the customers, and will try to understand. Obviously, it's a very big world out there for a product leader to read all the minds together, but depending on these principles, he or she can help to analyze what will work for the customers, what will not work for the customers, what kind of customers they can target, what kind of customers they should not target. So this is this behavioral model that we are going to study right now is about the customer front. So the next part is, how does a behavioral product manager work? So when I was reading about this topic and I searched, I found that there are certain roles open as a behavior product manager also, not as a product manager, behavior product manager. That is, you have certain degree in psychology, or you have that behavioral science thing inside you, and that's why they're hiring you, not only for the product management skills. So these are also the options that are growing up in companies right now. So a behavioral product manager always takes a very proactive approach. Not that a product manager does not take, but he takes a proactive approach in terms of the behavior of the people. Say, if I'm doing this, if I'm say giving a product for 10 rupees, what would my customer, will my customer take that product for 10 rupees or not? If I'm giving my product for 5 rupees, will it be too less to be considered, to not having a good quality? So that kind of behavior study from the customer's point of view is really done. And obviously, the behavioral product manager has to use psychology to guide and change some user behavior. Maybe sometimes the customers that you are targeting, or the personas that you are targeting, are not the same, but they can change. Like we said, maybe they can behave or in a different way in the different situations. And there is one unique insight for the product that the product manager tries to leverage along with product management skills and understanding the people, both the customer end and the inside. I mean, the company, the people who are working for making that product. If we can bring all the goal, all the things in one place, that is customer having this, UX, business, tech having one goal. So, that one, bringing that all the teams to one goal along with the customer goal is really, really important. And it's not that, I will not say it's not that easy. Maybe some of you are doing already, but yeah, it's a challenge sometimes to bring everyone, because everyone is talking their own language. Everyone has a different mindset. And that's how the behavioral product manager works and focuses on the customer experience. Now, when we talk about customer experience, when I'm making some test cases as a product leader, that my product will be priced at this, my product will get more attraction like this, or something like that, it's not necessary that I'm making the right decisions always, because I will always think from the logical perspective, also from maybe emotional perspective also, but it's not really necessary that every time the customer makes the decision that is rational. So customers, and a lot of customers, this is a proven thing, a lot of customers make irrational decisions. And this is a very good saying, though it's written, but I'm going to just tell you, our irrational behaviors, they are never random or never senseless, because human beings are a product of emotions. So they have different needs, different things at different times. So that is why their irrational behaviors are never senseless. So we should not ignore them as a product leader. So suppose now, as the image is showing, dollars. So suppose I have $5. Now I know that 5 years down the line, I have to save for a home. But right now, I'm sitting at home due to COVID. I'm doing some online thing, and certainly suddenly I get some sale, and I love shopping. So maybe I'll just go ahead and buy that $5, which I was thinking of saving at this moment. But at this very moment, I have got that online thing, and now I'm spending $5 on that. Or maybe I'm getting, say, a cold coffee, which rejuvenates my mood and helps me to do better in a day. So maybe I spend there. So these, besides home, which is a 5 year down the line plan, but yeah, I have to save for it, I know that. But this time I'm making an irrational decision just because of my mood, just maybe because something is different, just because I want to buy it. There can be multiple reasons, and we cannot identify all the reasons, but surely we can say that people do make irrational decisions in terms of buying things or spending. Or your product, maybe at that time you're thinking that maybe this customer will not come, but suddenly that customer comes. Now, how this irrationality of customers benefits a product leader or a product manager? Behavior product managers, as we have said, obviously make all their decisions when they use a proactive approach, when they find that unique insight. They make all those decisions keeping in mind that people sometimes maybe, or maybe say 50-60% of the times, will have an irrational behavior. Like we just showed, we are saving, we were going to save that money, I was going to save that $5, but I just spend it online. So that's how they use that psychological research, and they work on these irrational decisions. All the psychological research and human psychology that is used in product management by any product leader is based on, and you want to give a unique customer experience in all the times throughout the product life cycle, want to attract the customers, retain the customers, do anything. Obviously it works around this irrationality of the customers. That helps a lot to get to our results. Now, sometimes so obviously you all will have questions why there are choices from customer side, though we thought that it is rational, logical, as while thinking and making the product, why the choices that we make are so repetitively and predictably wrong? So to tell you about these things, why customers make these irrational decisions again and again, there are three very famous theories or models which have been used. The first model that we are going to talk about is a Fogg behavior model, BJ Fogg. It was invented by BJ Fogg. Now, Fogg behavior model says that any customer will react to the product. Say you are launching a new product and you want to motivate, you want a customer to come to your product, to your website, say. So any customer, okay, I'm launching a ice cream, a vegan ice cream. Okay, so suppose I want to have those customer segments who are vegan. So now those vegan customers, when and how are they going to come to me? So Fogg behavior model describes what are the elements of motivation, what are the triggers, and what are the simplicity factors, and how they help you, how they help any customer to get attracted to your product. Now, since we are talking about a vegan ice cream, which should not contain milk, dairy products. So what should be the motivation of that person? There are three things that helps a customer to get to us. One is motivation, second is ability, and third is trigger. So when we say B is equal to MAT, behavior is equal to motivation plus ability plus trigger. That is a very simple equation of Fogg behavior model. Motivation, okay, say I am a vegan person, I want to eat an ice cream at this time of at this hour of the night, I can't go out. But yeah, suppose you have just launched a app where I can order vegan products. Now I have the motivation, okay, let's find out some vegan products app, and I just Google your app, maybe listed on the top, I get it. Now I'm motivated, okay, wow, now I should try this. Maybe I can try this. If I'm a early adopter, maybe I will read some reviews and go back and then maybe try this. So I have that motivation inside myself that I need to try this. I want to try this. Then there must be ability. Suppose the ice cream is priced at $10 and I have only $2 at that moment. That means I don't have the ability to do that at that time. So that means the model has failed. I have just gone to your app, but the first price that I can see is $10. So I will definitely log out and leave it. Then the trigger. Trigger, it can be internal trigger or it can be external trigger. Now, internal trigger can be something like, I have a mood, I want to change my mood, that's why I want to try something new. I'm just sitting having a lazy Sunday and I want to try something new to eat. That's why I just looked at the app, and so that can be an internal trigger. I just went to the website and saw that. And external trigger maybe some of my friend calling me and telling me that, she's also vegan, and she's saying, this app has launched this and this, and you must try it. So that is an external trigger that we were just talking and we just discussed about this app. So if any of these three does not occur simultaneously, then the customer is not going to react to the product, and then that behavior to adapt your product is not going to happen. So first thing is motivation, ability, and then trigger. And triggers can be internal or external. Now, elements of motivation can be, like we said, pleasure of pain, like I want to change my mood. And maybe on a lazy Sunday, I'm just sitting and doing nothing, but I want to try something new. Then maybe I'm missing out because my friend has just said, that there is some app, and I'm thinking, how can she try it before me? So that is one thing. And yeah, so these all things help you to define the behavior. So whenever we are developing a product, we want our customers or personas to react in a certain way, we should always think the personas that we have defined, do they have the motivation? Do they have the ability? And do they have the, or what can trigger them? Now, this trigger can be experimented with certain MVPs, hundreds of MVPs that you can think of, and these triggers can be identified. But ability and motivation should definitely be there, or we can help to motivate them by giving them rewards or helping them, to maybe some discounts. If suppose I logged out at 2, but I just went, so through the data, say the data analytics person say 10 people are opting out, so you are realizing that $10 is maybe too high. So that is where how the fog behavior model works. The second is nudge theory or design of choices. So suppose now again the same vegan ice cream has come to me, but it has only 4 flavors, and I wanted the fifth flavor. I don't have that. So how do you motivate me as a customer? How, as a product leader, do you think of that customer who does not have that? Maybe you're going to have it later, but how do you do that? So clearly, first we need to define our changes, that we are going to launch these flavors first, then the second flavors and all. And we should always discuss it internally with the product, because the teams who are making your product are extremely important. And as I told, the goal of having internal teams and customer as one, the goal should be one. That is very challenging. So we should definitely discuss it with the team, that can we do it? Is it feasible? Can we launch the chocolate flavor or Belgian chocolate flavor later? Okay, now then use the evidence to show that this is the best option. Now, suppose you are trying some MVP while launching the Belgian chocolate flavor, and maybe only 2 people just react to you who have, and already you have 100 users, then obviously it's not worth it. So we don't have an evidence. And now then we present the change as a choice. Suppose now you have launched the Belgian chocolate flavor, and now we have almost like 60 people responded to it. Then you present it as a change, that this is not a change, this is something you wanted, and we have launched it, so now come and take it. And then obviously you talk to them about the tastes, and you limit the obstacles. Maybe the processing time is more up for your app, so you limit any obstacles that are there. And with short-term variable rewards, you keep that thing. So fog behavior model always thinks on the behavior, how can B is equal to mat, motivation, ability, and trigger. We can identify various MVPs, and the nudge theory is always based only on the design of choices. Now, the third and the most important is habit forming product. Okay, what is the difference between habit and change? Change has a behavior can change on 3 things. One is identity of the person. I am a vegan person. Second is process. Does your app respond fast enough? Do I have to enter 5 fields or just phone number and log in with OTP while logging into your app? Third is the outcome. What benefit I am going to get as a customer from your app, right? Am I going to get all the flavors that I want or no? So I think these These three things identify and help you to change. If any of these are missing, then definitely the product which we are launching, we are missing on some or the other aspect, then we are losing it out from the very first stage to make that product into a habit of the people. Because when outcome is something that I want, process is easy and it suits my identity, then only when I will get hint for it, then I will have craving for it. And when I get response and reward, I will keep coming back to your product again and again. Suppose I logged in for the first time, I got 5 referrals, I've sent 5 referrals to my 5 vegan friends, and I got 2 ice creams free on a Sunday, right? So definitely there is an ice cream gelato which used to be in Pune, and that used to do this every Sunday. They used to launch a flavor and call us to taste because we were like first customers of theirs. So that is the kind of reward that you're giving, so we feel nice. So when we are identifying the 3 stages of a change, and when we are working on them to be very simple, then we can see that a product can be formed into a habit. Definitely we all know about the mobile phone apps. So now how do we hook the people to how do we get the people to be hooked by our product, to be hooked to our product? So one is trigger, that is definitely a part of the behavior as we talked about earlier. And there can be internal and external triggers that we talk. Then the action. The action is that I'm logging into an app with a mobile number, OTP, and I'm getting all the flavors at once. I have options to select. I can buy it. And then there is a variable reward. Suppose obviously some of the other discounts or referrals or whatever suits your product that's you are giving me. And then you have that investment. Then I have the ability to spend $5 or $10 according to the flavor I want. So that is very important. So to get the customers hooked, the data analysis is also very important in all these 4 stages. Triggers, we know MVPs. Actions, we need to make our processes very simple, and variable rewards which do not affect our profit margin and also give us a good turnover, but with the same customer experience as we will pricing it at $10, which helps us to get more customers invest in our product. That is the way we can form a habit forming product. So we have talked about different behavior models, and now the last part but very crucial part is the making of a product behind the scenes. As a product leader, we all know, talking about these behavioral science, human psychology is very easy, but it's in reality, it's very difficult to bring everyone. Even 4-member family cannot come to one point at a certain time. So definitely managing UX, tech, business, and then the customer, and keep aligning them to one goal is really a challenging task. So what do a product leader needs to do? Now we were talking about the customer's behavior and how to identify or change their behavior. Now as a leader, how can you embrace that leadership style so that you can align each of the divisions of your company inside UX, tech, business, as well as customers to one goal? Say customer has a goal that I want this in so and so way. And UX, tech, and business all are talking in the same language. That is one line. I want this in so and so way. In the same language, to bring them to that language, a leader has to be very versatile. And today we know that it is a VUCA world. So VUCA stands for volatility. We definitely know in these pandemic times. Yeah, I'll just take 2-3 minutes. We definitely know that there are volatility, then there is uncertainty. Maybe you launch something and that does not work. Maybe you are already doing something, but things are not working. Complexity, because now we have suddenly shifted to online. This is just example. Maybe it is happening without these pandemic times also. And then there is ambiguity. Maybe your product is going to work. If you had thought of say 1 lakh, maybe you had to spend 2 lakhs somewhere and things like that. So in this VUCA world, what a leader should have, so that everyone comes to that one goal. So a leader should have these all characteristics which are written here. Sense of humor is very, very important, so that people just keep on motivated, because laughing obviously keeps you healthy. solid communication and inspiring. You can adapt any leadership styles. I thought to include the leadership styles, but there are n number of leadership styles. We can always read about it. But these are the main characters that a leader should have: a very solid communication, sense of humor, inspiring, to get all the teams at one place. So, an adaptive leadership. Now, I know this is a very funny image, but yeah, I purposely put it to show, like, see, elephant can have, a ball, a ball where he has to just jump. And now then there is another ball where he's standing straight and he's trying to use the skipping rope, maybe to lose weight. And then he is trying to just jump through the skate, maybe, to try something out. So, adaptive leadership is the answer of which style you want to adopt. Adaptive leadership belongs to a repertoire of styles. It is not one style, it is a mix of styles. So you should be adaptive as a product leader to different needs at different times, because as we talked about VUCA, right? So we have to be adaptive as a product leader. Anticipation, how do we respond? What adaptive leadership has to do? So responding to 4As, this is according to the...
we are running out of time, so can you please wrap it up?
Yeah, it's just the last slide. It's the 4As. So anticipation of whatever can be the future needs of the person. Like, my future need as for the vegan ice cream may be a pineapple flavor. So maybe as a product leader, how do I know that? So that's what we have talked about, the behavior models and all. Then articulation of these needs to build collective understanding of the teams inside and outside to support you well. Like, the customers also support you well when you say we are launching this, and the teams inside also support you well. And then there is adaptation and accountability for whatever work we have taken as a product leader. We should definitely try with our teams to deliver that. So there are only 4 factors that helps you to embrace this adaptive leadership mindset, which is learning through reflection. Reflect your results in the past and get to know what worked, what did not work. Navigating business environments. Every time, as we said, VUCA world, it is not going to be the same. Create win-win solutions. Like, for the customer, pricing, or like I had $10 was too expensive for me. So just $9 is okay. Maybe $8 is okay. Just try that out. And internally also, it should work for my profit margin. And leading with empathy. Empathy is the most important thing that we should have for customers as well as for internal ourselves. Since we have gone out of the time, I would just like to take this survey for all of you. Maybe you can take it later. But to tell you the context of it is, it will be great if we can post this URL. I'll just post this URL on the chat. So to understand your social styles, if you get a 2.5, you have responsiveness and assertiveness. So if you get a 2.5 in both, that means you are in the middle. But if you have more than that, say from assertiveness, you have more. If you are somewhere between 1 to 4 on the vertical axis, and responsiveness you have more if somewhere you have between 1 to 4 on the horizontal axis. And that's how it defines whether your behavior is, which quadrant you lie. So suppose your assertiveness is...
So I think, Shipra, we have to stop here. We can post this link. And okay, because we have actually overshot the time, sorry.
No worries. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So yeah. So if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to Shipra on her LinkedIn profile so that she can answer, because we are running out of time right now. So thank you, Shipra, for your wonderful insight. And as a token of appreciation, please accept this small certificate from IPL. And thanks a lot for your session. And it was really insightful.